Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of the Mom and Tom podcast.
Woo, we made it to double digits.
Double digits, exciting. I'm Mom.
And my name is Tom. And today we are going to be playing a little game, sort of. I don't know if I call it a game, but it's this thing called Table Topics.
Yeah.
So it's something that Mom actually got me for Christmas as an idea to give some things to talk about on our podcast. So basically, there's different categories, and it just there's a bunch of different cards where on each card it sort of gives a interesting topic starter, like
conversation starter.
Yeah, conversation starter type thing. So that is what we're going to be doing today. But before we get into that, I just want to quick mention that we have an email. Our email is momandtompodcast@gmail.com. It's all one word, all lowercase, nothing like that, just all Mom and Tom Podcast. If you guys would like to send us an email about suggestions or just feedback or, something you liked about the episode, I don't know, anything just to interact with us, feel free to send us an email. And we also have an Instagram. The URL is instagram.com/momandtompodcast. Again, no spaces or anything in there. And we post each week when we upload a new episode. So go ahead and give us a follow if you want to keep up on when we are posting our episodes.
All right.
So now that we got that through, like I mentioned, we're going to be going through some of these table topics to talk about. And the first one that I'm pulling up here, let's see. It says, what would you like to learn about your family history?
Am I going first or are you?
Yeah, why don't you go first?
I actually have a couple of them. Actually, Tom and I went through these a little bit ahead of time so that we would be prepared. I have a few.
Don't expose us.
I have a few. My great-grandfather came over here from Norway, and I've heard a lot about him, that he was a gymnast and that he was also in the Norwegian circus. And just for all of those reasons, it would have been interesting to talk to him and just find out more about what his life in Norway was like and what it was like to come here, and just what it was like to be in the Norwegian circus and then making a new life in America and all of that. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
And also, my grandmother on my mom's side was an orphan here in Minnesota. And her mother had passed away from what they called consumption back then. And there was 6 children, and her father was unable to take care of them. And so the state took them away from him. And she was in an orphanage down in Owatonna, which is called a state school. That's what they called it. And it's actually a museum now. And I would really like to go visit it sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I, she didn't talk a lot about that. But it just would be interesting to know a little bit more. I'd like to go there again and see if she's in any of the pictures or anything like that. So
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And just, I guess, learn about what it was like back then.
Yeah. What it was like for her. She was awfully little. She was only 7 or something like that. So. Yeah,
that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
My answer is not as in depth, but because of the fact that my mom mentioned that we have relatives from Norway, and then also on my dad's side, it's a lot of just European countries in general, Germany and
Sweden and
Ireland, those ones. I think it'd be cool to find out if we have any ancestors that were Vikings. I know my mom's laughing, but I think it would be interesting to see.
Obviously not football players, right? You
are.
No, I'm just making fun. No, I mean, it's certainly possible, and I suppose in some way, if that's the way the Norwegian people got started, we probably do have some
as far as I'm aware, that
there.
There's a lot of them were Scandinavian, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It's very possible.
It's very possible. It sure is.
All right. So moving on to the next one here. The next one is, this one's more of a funny one. If you had to compete in an eating contest, which food would you choose to consume? I can go first on this one.
Okay.
I think for me, I would go with chicken because just in general, it's my kind of favorite go-to type of meat.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I mean, I like chicken in a lot of different forms too. Grilled chicken, fried chicken.
So you wouldn't care what form?
Probably not.
Just not raw.
Yeah, just not raw, preferably. Yeah. No red in my chicken, please. But yeah, I mean, I prefer dark meat over white meat, but there's nothing wrong with white meat, really. I just think dark is juicier, so I like it more. But
yes, tends to be.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd go with. What do you think?
I would go with I think I would go with like mashed potatoes because I think I would want to go with something that doesn't require as much chewing. I don't know. It just seems like, in terms of winning the contest, like, I don't know if speed's a factor or if it's just pure amount or what it is.
I think it's usually speed. Yeah.
Yeah. Speed and amount.
As far as I'm aware, usually
time,
eating contests are like, there's a set amount and you try to, or there's like a set time and you try to eat the most in that time.
Right. There you go. Yeah. I think something smooth like that.
That's true. Although, potatoes can be pretty filling.
True.
So.
Good point. Good point. Very good point.
Yeah. I mean, I guess not that meat isn't, but yeah, maybe we both didn't pick the greatest one.
Well, maybe upon more thought.
Yeah, we're not the most experienced eating contestants.
Yes.
So
no.
All right, yeah, so maybe we're picking wrong ones. But anyways, okay, so that was a more funny one. Next one we have up is, what is the most amazing thing you've seen from the car window? Now, I'm guessing we're going to have similar ones on this.
Yeah, I think so.
The only reason I say that is because we, in terms of like, things seen from a car window, most of vacations that we've gone on are like when we actually see a monument, we're not in a car.
Right.
So we're like actually up to it. But when, as a family, we went on a trip to South Dakota back
to Custer State Park. Yeah.
How long ago was this? Was this like 12 years ago or something? Or
probably something like that, maybe more. 12 to
because I want to say I was like 10 or something.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
12
yeah, you're probably right.
10 to 12
10
years
to 12 years, right in there.
Yeah, so and we went on this what was it called, like a wilderness trail?
It's called the Wilderness Loop, I believe.
Or Wilderness Loop.
Yeah, and it's where you drive on this road, but the animals are just free range.
Yeah, they're all just kind of walking around.
Yeah.
And I remember that one specific moment when we were driving, and then there was kind of this line of cars because everyone was stopped. Mm-hmm. And it was because there was buffalo, these giant buffalo that were literally on the road. Yeah, they were so close. Like they were just walking right next to the cars. And they were just walking by. And I remember as a kid, you'd understand, like as a kid, I didn't really think about like the danger of it really. I was just sort of like, oh, this giant animal that I've never seen before is like suddenly right next to me, and like this is so cool. Like I wanna roll down the window. I mean, I didn't do that. But
no, you didn't, because we were still in charge. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying that I just think it was such a cool experience for me.
Yeah.
Partially because as a kid I was not thinking about the danger. You know? So I was just free to be like, enjoy it, I guess.
Yes. And
ignorance is bliss.
Yes. And as amazing as it was, I mean, I too thought it was amazing. I mean, you really get an appreciation for their size. Uh-huh. But, as we got closer, as a parent, it began to dawn on me their size in relation to our vehicle.
Right.
And my 3 precious children in the vehicle. And I felt the mama bear in me really rise up, and I just thought, okay, what would I do? What would I do? I think I would just tell Rob to step on the gas and let's get out of here.
Yeah, probably.
And hopefully they wouldn't run after us.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
for those of you who have not seen a buffalo up close, we were in a van, but these things are like,
Well, they were head to head with it.
yeah, they're like pretty much as big as a van. Like
They're
they
huge.
they could have flipped a car if they really
Yes.
wanted to.
Or you
they-
suddenly feel very small. Yes.
Yes,
You suddenly
absolutely.
go, oh my gosh, yeah, the ratio here is not in my favor at all.
And it is kind of an interesting thing though, because when you're grow up in the city and stuff, you never really, I guess not very often, come in contact with animals that are really a threat to us, or like
Right.
they're not. Most animals you see are birds and squirrels and stuff. Like there's nothing that's like even close to our size or could.
Yeah. Or deer. I mean, deer is probably the
Deer is
yeah.
definitely the closest, but that still deer isn't super common.
No, not super common.
But then when you see something that's like that massive,
Yeah.
and you kind of go like,
Yeah.
wow, there's.
Yes.
I mean, the early humans probably were like that had to hunt these things.
Yeah.
That must have been the scariest.
Yeah.
thing.
That's been pretty. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty amazing when you think of it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, another big thing I know that I personally saw long before I was married or anything is I saw a moose once, and that's another very large animal. And
I don't think
I was trotting along the side of the road. I was way up north. I was up in Ely.
Oh,
and,
gotcha.
here's a moose just trotting along the side of the road, and I'm like, dang, again, that thing's bigger than my vehicle.
Yeah. No,
If he wants to just
I know
kick a
moose are
hoof
really
over here,
big.
I'm in trouble.
yeah, that's really true.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen a moose
Yeah.
up close before.
Yeah. It's cool though. I mean, those are great experiences, but yes,
For
you
sure.
get the awe and wonder of nature.
Yes. And I
Yes.
mean, there was plenty of other things we saw too on that trail. Like, I think we saw, I don't know if it was on the trail, but I know in South Dakota we saw like the mountain goats.
Yeah, like
Too.
moving as a herd. That was incredible.
Yeah, those are so cool. And the way they were able to like move in the mountains is
Yeah.
kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, they just run like they're on flat ground. It
Yeah.
seems like it's
and they just
pretty
run up and
amazing.
down the like
Yeah.
cliffs. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, that was very cool. I think we pulled over.
Yeah,
Because we
I
were-
think
yeah,
you're
we
right.
were watching, yeah.
Yeah, so
That was very cool.
all right, I think we can move on to the next one now. I guess this is actually kind of similar question, but what was your all-time favorite vacation is the next one.
Okay.
I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, I know the one that Tom is going to say, so I'll let him talk about that one because I would kind of put mine into categories of family vacation versus vacation.
Yeah, like personal
And-
vacation.
Yeah, and I actually have. I'll let him talk about one, but probably one of my definitely favorite vacations was when my husband took me to Cozumel for I think it was our 15th anniversary, and it was the first time we had left the kids. And while that was hard, it was beautiful for one, and it was warm, and it was just very relaxing. But it was also good for me to realize that I could leave the kids and they would be okay, and that I could go and still have fun and a relationship with my husband. So,
Right.
but another, we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I was thinking about when we went to Disney.
Yes.
My mother-in-law took us all to Disney, and so we went as a big extended family.
Yeah,
and
that was quite a vacation.
yes, it was wonderful. It was a once in a lifetime.
Yes.
For us anyway. I know there's people who like go to Disney every year, and do that, but for us, this could be. It's possible that it's a once in a lifetime, but it was
Right.
just incredible. Disney's just incredible. So, but I'm gonna let you talk about the other your favorite.
Yeah, so the one that she's leading into for me is probably I think it's definitely the longest
a couple weeks.
road trip we've ever done. We did a massive road trip out to Niagara Falls, the New York side to be specific. I know there's a
The
Canada
US,
and
yeah.
or a US and Canada
Yeah.
side, so we were on the US side. But that trip just as a whole had so many cool experiences in it. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I've kind of talked about it before. Yeah, when we talked about Minnesota vacations, I talked about a little bit how I really like waterfalls. And so obviously Niagara Falls is
Yeah.
like the biggest waterfall you could
Yeah.
get close to. So that was pretty incredible. But even like Niagara Falls itself was incredible. I mean, we had that. You could go on those, like, I don't know what to call them.
The boat.
There was so the
Yeah.
boat, the Maiden of the Mist or whatever it's called.
Made of the Mist.
Made of the Mist. That one was super cool because it takes you really close, and the reason it's called Made of the Mist is because you're literally getting mist from the falls.
Yeah.
Like you can get fairly close to it.
Yeah.
But there's that like trail or like. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Where you could walk underneath.
You go down in an elevator, and then those.
I don't remember what that was
decks,
called exactly. Yeah, like decks or
Cave of the Winds.
Oh, is that what it was
I
called?
think so.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
went down like in an elevator, and then you walk up these, and there's these little decks, and that one was called the Hurricane Deck.
Yeah, there was one where you could like stand under a little part of the falls, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
oh, it was so cool.
Yeah.
because everyone's got rain jackets on, and then you can quick step under there and be like, I'm under the falls.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Tom was getting pounded.
Yeah.
And we took a picture because all, maybe 35 pounds of you was getting pounded from that waterfall. It was hysterical. It was
Yeah.
very fun to watch. The kids have such a good time.
But what I was gonna say is, like, I loved Niagara Falls so much, but I think what was so cool about the trip as a whole is that there were so many other cool experiences too.
Yeah.
Like, it was my first time ever going to Canada, even though
That was our worst
that was our
campsite,
the worst campsite. And nothing against Canada. It's just my one experience now.
Yeah, no,
is
Canada's beautiful. It was just this particular.
the particular campsite we went to, and it was like, it was not the nicest place, and then on top of it, it happened to be a night where there was just so many mosquitoes.
Yeah,
everywhere.
it was very still
Like,
night, and
yeah, and so it just ended up being a really
Yeah.
gross night,
Yeah.
kind of like we kind of
Yeah.
just ended up sitting in the
yeah.
camper,
yeah,
and because we knew we didn't want to go outside.
yeah,
But yeah, that was my first time going to there, and then that was the one where on the way back we went through like the Football Hall of Fame and stuff, right?
Yeah, in
Yep.
Canton,
That was
Ohio,
such a cool
yeah.
experience. That was when I wasn't like super into football at that time, and for some reason I really liked the Atlanta Falcons.
yeah. I
I
remember.
don't really remember why, but I really like this. So I have a football that
Yeah, Dad
says
bought you a
Atlanta
football,
Falcons
yeah,
on it. Yeah. Of course, my dad's like, "Why don't you want to get a Vikings one?" And then I'm like, "I don't know. I like the Falcons. I don't know."
Yeah, that was kind of funny. I remember being kind of surprised when you came back with that. I'm like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah, which is funny because
Whatever.
like now that I'm more into football, I'm like, why did I not get a Vikings one? But
Well, maybe someday you can go back.
yeah, maybe. And then we also stopped by the Dells, right? That was the same one.
Yeah, the Dells, yes.
Yeah, that was a fun experience. My brother had a ton of fun
Yeah.
at the Dells. So.
He just kept swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think overall that's definitely my favorite one.
Yes, that was. I think most of our family would say that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So for the next topic, this is a little bit more of an abstract one. Do you believe in UFOs? What I would say about UFOs is I think that all the different videos and pictures you see of people saying that they saw UFOs, I think to me, I'm very skeptical.
Same.
So
Yeah.
I think it's very, very likely that it was either some weird phenomenon of something happening, I don't know, in the atmosphere or whatever, or it was faked, which is, I mean, these days is very easy to do as far as I'm aware. And then, or it's some sort of military experiment or something.
Yeah.
I know that's what you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier, that maybe we're not supposed to know about.
Not like I feel like it sounds like a huge, military
Conspiracy
conspiracy theory person, but yeah, I struggle with the UFO topic because you hate to ever, doubt someone's experience, someone's personal experience, but I just struggle to I don't know. I just,
Yeah, it's one of those
I
things
just
that's
like really.
almost-
I mean, can we really eliminate every other possibility? I don't
Right.
know. It's just a
I
tough
agree.
one. Yeah.
I just think there's too many possibilities of other things it could be. That's what I would
Yeah.
say. But what I did want to mention though is in terms of just like aliens though, I think that it is very possible that there's other life somewhere.
Right. I think we kind of agreed on that.
Yeah,
too,
we kind of agree on that. That I think it's possible. And while I don't think we've necessarily seen them or interacted with them or they've seen us.
or that they live among us.
Yeah, I'm quite skeptical about that.
Yeah.
But I would say that I am open to the possibility. That's
Right.
what I would say.
Yeah. Like
So.
same. I think we were kind of the same on that.
All right, cool. So, our next one, what would you most like to see in the Alaskan wilderness? Kind of harkening back to our
Yeah.
vacation type topics.
Yeah, I think we both had one in common, but then another one that I thought of is I'd really like to see the whales. I know people who have gone on Alaskan River cruises, and the whale watching looks pretty. That would be pretty incredible. Safely in a boat
Yes, obviously.
from a distance, yes, but no,
And,
I'm sure it's like absolutely awesome. So
yeah, whales, when we were talking earlier about, wildlife that's way bigger than us,
yeah,
don't really
Yeah.
get much bigger than whales.
Yeah.
So whales is probably the biggest thing you can see.
yeah,
And what she was referring to with something we have in common is probably the Northern Lights.
yeah. That's got to be
I just
amazing.
It's one of those phenomena that like it's so cool that, and you can only see it, in certain places in the world. So I feel like when you're in a place that you can see it, you should. Like that's one of the things.
Yeah,
that,
and that Alaska is supposed to be one of the best,
Yes.
if not the best place to see them. So
Right. So, yeah, that would be super cool to see. And then for me, in terms of, like animal nature, we were talking about this earlier, but I think it'd be super cool. Like those scenes that you always see in movies or like pictures and stuff where the bear is like sitting on some rocks in a river and like, all the fish are trying to jump up and the bear's trying to catch the fish. I think it'd be so cool to see a scene like that.
Yeah.
Like some sort of picturesque scene.
yeah,
To actually see it with my own eyes, like to be there.
Yeah.
Would be super cool. And even though, normally I would not want to see a bear when I'm out in the wilderness, but if I was like a safe distance away and just could, and the bear was minding its own business, it wasn't
and
looking at me.
completely unaware of you.
Yeah. That would be super cool
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, man, those movies, I know Disney has made quite a few of those like Planet Earth movies.
Yeah, incredible.
And it's like, and the BBC, right, has like a series on it. And I think the dedication it must take to make those kind of movies, like the people who, those nature photographers who will sit out in nature
to get those incredible shots.
Yeah, for months, maybe years to like.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's so incredible, and I'm sure there's a fair amount of risk involved too with,
I would think.
because these are wild animals.
Right.
I mean, they're not
Yeah.
necessarily gonna react how you would hope they would. So
They can be a bit unpredictable.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that would be, and I mean, I know this isn't Alaskan, but I think one of my favorite animals has always been penguins. And I've seen pictures and stuff of penguins interacting with people and like with the like photographers and stuff where sometimes they'll just walk up to them and just like say hi. And I think that looks so funny, and like that would be something that's so funny to see.
Yeah, if they're not fearful of humans.
Yeah, I have seen some pictures of them just around with people, and I think that's so funny. Because, I mean, and it kind of makes sense because in, places like Antarctica or whatever, those animals probably wouldn't be used to seeing people, so they wouldn't necessarily know to be afraid of us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's a lot of, other animals, that live in the city and stuff that, know about cars and stuff. And like, so they move out of the way of cars. But like, yeah, there's a lot of those other animals that are probably just like, oh, what's this? What's this thing? And walk up
Well,
to it.
and I think animals that do get hunted, and
Are probably
I mean, not the
more-
penguins never get hunted, but typically not by humans. I don't think
No.
they're hunted. You know, I
Right.
think, what is it? Sea lions will come after them.
I believe so. And yeah, I don't know for sure, but I don't think there's a whole lot of stuff that hunts, just in general, that hunts adult penguins. I think it's more baby penguins that,
maybe.
like, because do you remember that movie?
March of the Penguins.
No, not that
No?
one. The animated one, the dancing
Oh.
penguin one. Because there's those big birds that will actually pick up baby penguins.
Oh, God,
And,
really?
Yeah, if they get left
Oh,
alone
man.
and stuff. So there are some there are some things that hunt baby penguins, but I don't think there's much that, aside from maybe sea lions, like you said,
Yeah.
that would go after an adult penguin. But
Yeah. I don't know.
penguins are just such funny creatures to
Yeah.
me.
They are.
They're sliding on their belly and stuff.
Yeah.
And how
And they
they're
walk.
they walk funny, and how they're birds but they can't fly. I just think it's cute. It's funny. I like them. Okay, so the last one that we're gonna hit on today will be this one. If you opened a restaurant, what would the house specialty be? It's kind of more of a fun one. For me, even though this is definitely stealing from you, Mom, but my mom used to make this dish all the time that she calls tuna hot dish. It's essentially just tuna, cream of mushroom soup,
Yep.
and noodles.
Yep.
But it's such like
Not even
a,
essentially. That is.
yeah, no, that's actually exactly what it is. But I don't know. It just, for me, it's always been such a nice like comfort food because it's so easy. Obviously, it has like three things.
And
so
you're the
it's-
only one of the kids that likes it.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah.
And my mom always used to like that I liked it because it was so easy to make.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well, and it was kind of a comfort food for me growing up as well. My mom used to make it, and
oh right,
yeah, it was funny. That was
I forgot about that.
and being Catholic, Fridays at Lent, that was another.
Oh, that makes sense.
You had to mix in that with having the tomato soup and grilled cheese and,
right.
and fish, but yeah, fish sticks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yes, tuna hot dish was a fave.
Yeah, so I think just because it's something that's like one of my favorite comfort foods, probably would pick that. For
You might
my
have to
house
jazz it up a
specialty.
little bit.
Yeah, maybe I'd have to
have
add
a broader
like,
appeal, maybe.
add like some extra spices to it or something. To be like
Something, I don't know.
Chipotle tuna hot dish or something.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so not Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think?
I think my specialty would be my soy sauce chicken or chicken
Ooh.
wings. Yeah. It's a marinade that my mom used to make again when I was a kid. And it's not a very scientific recipe. I do everything by sight, but yeah, it's a family favorite, I would say, when a lot of times the kids will ask for that if they're coming for dinner or something.
Yeah.
And we made it for you and your friends after your graduation party.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And New
it's a
Year's
really,
we make them. New Year's Eve
Yep.
we make them.
It's a fun type of food for gatherings, especially
Yeah,
because you can just make it in a crock pot and
Yeah.
have the
Yeah. Well, I cook them
Everyone-
ahead of time and then just keep them warm in the crock pot. So
right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yes.
I agree with your
Yeah,
pick.
that would be my specialty.
Would
I
go
think.
to that restaurant. How many? So you were saying you make it by sight.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you like to cook a lot of things? Is
Yeah.
like kind of just
Yeah, a lot of
by
things.
feel? Sort of?
Once I can start with a recipe, and then if I feel like there's something I'd like to adjust in it, I adjust it, and I don't always measure. And yeah, and I
Do you
pretty
find
much,
it hard to give people recipes when they ask?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah, because that soy sauce, a lot of people have asked me for that marinade recipe, and I've tried to write it down and explain it, but everyone tells me that when they try it, it doesn't turn out the same. So Maybe
That's
there's
funny.
a little evil part of me that is,
Wants to
enjoys that
keep
to
it.
some.
Want to have the best marinade.
It's mine.
Yeah.
No,
That's funny.
no, but it is. I've tried to kind of guesstimate and tell people ratios and stuff, but
Right.
yeah,
It's tough
It's-
when you eye it all, probably.
yeah, I kind of eyeball it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our table topics for today. We very likely will probably do this every once in a while because it's
Yeah,
just
kinda fun.
it's kind of a fun thing to we would recommend it, I think.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a fun thing. And there's a bunch of other categories too. We were just picking, we picked out some ones that we liked the most, but there's a whole ton of other cards in
Yeah.
there that we haven't even gone through yet. So
Yeah.
it's a fun way to just come up with or start conversations. And
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to send in a conversation starter or a topic they'd like to hear us talk about, please do that. Please send us an email or make a comment. And
yeah, we're super open to recommendations. So yeah. Again, so yeah, what she was just mentioning, you guys could send us an email. Again, our email is momandtompodcast, all one word, and that's at gmail.com. Or you could leave us a comment on this YouTube video, or even leave us a comment on our Instagram. Our Instagram username is momandtompodcast, all one word. Yeah. So I think that does it for today, episode 10. We are officially into double digits.
Yahoo!
We made it. And we will see you guys again in a couple weeks.
thank you all for listening. Bye-bye.